figures for you. 50,000 square miles of rainforest is destroyed every year. The world has lost half of its rainforests, and only 1/10 of what's left is actually protected, which means that 50,000 species of animals, plants and insects are destroyed every year. And if you do the maths, put it in perspective, that's 139 species every single day. Now, so far I've just talked about rainforests. What about all the other forests, lakes, swamps, plains? They're also disappearing. I've thrown a whole lot of figures at you, and quite frankly it depends on who you talk to as to what values they are. But they're always large, they're always quite frightening. They're also quite difficult to interpret. Because, for instance, have you got a clue what 50,000 square miles actually looks like? If I tell you it's about the area of England, now you will start to get a picture of the problem, the picture of what I'm talking about. And that's very important for communication. Good communication needs pictures. People need to be able to visualise it to understand what's going on. And I can give you an example of that. Some time ago I was doing some media training for the World Land Trust, and the lady I was interviewing started talking about San Rafael, which is in Paraguay. And she described how she'd been driven through miles and miles and miles of monotonous soybean plantations. And she was really getting quite depressed about it. And then suddenly there was this wall, verdant wall of green in front of her. And it was the forest, the reserve. And if it hadn't been for World Land Trust and its partners, that too would have been soybean plantations. Now, I've never been to San Rafael, unfortunately. It was a long time ago I actually did that media training, it was some years ago. But I now have an image imprinted on my brain. Those figures now begin to mean something. And now I can also start to relate it to my own personal experiences. So, for instance, I went to Malaysia, and that again was about 15 years ago. But I distinctly remember, in fact I will never forget, driving through miles and miles of smoking tree stumps. I was really upset about it. And it made me decide that I really wanted to do something about it. I think it's what helped to give me my passion, if you like, for helping to protect threatened habitats. And passion is the other ingredient that you need. Passion and pictures are the two main ingredients for good communication. If you've got that, you're going to make people begin to care. And when they start to care, they want to go and do something. And doing something is what the World Land Trust wants people to do, obviously. It doesn't matter if it's sponsorship, it doesn't matter if it's buying acres, donating, having a jumble sale, but actually doing something. And once you've got these pictures, then people are going to remember and they're starting to want to get involved. Just to underline that point, I did another session more recently at the World Land Trust. I've learned an awful lot about their projects, as you might appreciate. And this was about the orangutans in Borneo. Now that's a project where the forest has been severely fragmented. The orangutans are under very serious threat. And what the World Land Trust are doing with their partners are actually buying and leasing land, because it's not easy to buy in Borneo, which makes corridors between the islands of the forests. And it was explained to me how something as simple as a rope bridge across a river could actually act as a sort of mini corridor. Now, bear in mind that in Borneo, these rivers are really pretty nasty, polluted things, and actually orangutans don't like coming down from the trees. So the fact they were actually using this rope bridge means they were pretty desperate. So, okay, it wasn't the most important corridor, it's not the most well-used corridor, just a few orangutans. But what was important about it is actually a very simple visual detail which stuck in my mind. And when you have simple visual details like that, somehow the whole project becomes more achievable. People feel they can actually do something when they hear things like that. They feel they can make a difference. And there are lots of ways they can make a difference with the World Land Trust, because they've got projects right across the globe, from Armenia through to Zambia. And some of these projects are regenerative, so they're replanting where trees have been felled. But other projects, most of the projects, are actually preventative. It's saving real acres before they get destroyed. I suppose you could say that the World Land Trust is acting rather like the female black widow spider, because she really takes preventative action. She eats the male straight after mating. And the reason she does this, it's to stop the snoring before it starts. But seriously, really, it is about taking action before it's too late, which is why we need to spread the word.